Hello, good morning, good evening, everyone. This is Amy. So today, December 3rd on the West Coast, we moved into the new moon in Sagittarius, also coinciding with a solar eclipse in its own sign of Sagittarius. So this is going to be a recorded version of my Mystic Moon Monday, which I normally was doing about twice a month, but I decided to cut back. But still, I wanted to pay attention to the new moon and the full moon, the signs that it's in, just to share that information to everyone. I've been doing this for about a year and a few months, um, doing doing an explanation of the moon phases, the signs that the moon phases are in and how it influences us. And I tend to repeat this information so people who are new to the channel, they'll get an idea what I'm talking about for the moon phases and when they're in the signs and how they do play a role with us on a daily basis. So to go right into this, we are in the sign of Sagittarius, the solar sign of Sagittarius. But as I mentioned, the moon is currently in the sign of Sagittarius, but it's in its new moon phase. So it's in its darkest phase. And I work with various decks, but the one deck that is my foundation for doing these moon readings is the Moon Oracle deck by John Astrop and Carolyn Smith. My apologies. So this deck in particular, the Moon Oracle, is broken up into elements in association to the signs. So all the fire signs, they hold reference to the energy of fire. The color coordination of this deck is red. This is our card here for Sagittarius. More for the fire signs. So this is our symbol here for fire. This is our black moon or new moon or dark moon. And this is the symbol of it. Now, the imagery in this deck is very abstract, but it still shows the waning and the waxing stages of the moon, as we see here. But it goes more into the realm of plants, how they start as a seed, then how they sprout into leaves. And this coincides with the different phases of the moon. But I did a review of this deck, and I did a few videos discussing the Moon Oracle deck. They're in my playlist. Do a search and you'll find it. But let's get right into this new moon and solar eclipse, both in the sign of Sagittarius. So Sagittarius is fire. It's a mutable sign. So fire is a lot of energy, creative-wise, high-spirited, very goal-oriented. But the energy of the fire signs fall into different characteristics. So as I mentioned, Sagittarius is mutable. The other fire sign we have is the next fire sign that's coming up will be in the springtime for Aries, and that's cardinal. So they initiate, they start things. And then the other fire sign influence that we have is fixed, and that's in the sign of Leo. So fire sign is basically how their energy is projected out, and they have a way of showing themselves to people, but they're very set in their ways, and this applies to all the different elements in relation to the signs. So there's a fixed sign for earth signs, fixed signs for Aries, fixed cardinal, mutable for all the elements, earth, air, fire, water signs. That may have thrown you for a loop, but I have a breakdown of those different influences that are in my playlist. You can go through think it's like under tarot astrology, the playlist, and I'm starting a new uh, series of where I go through each astrological month, and I talk about their backgrounds, like the elements, what it means, their tarot cards of influences. So that's all there. But anyhow, back to Sagittarius. That mutable energy. Mutable is basically um, just kind of going with what's going on, the environment that you're in, the conversation that you're having, how it's affecting you, the environment that you're in, how you're being attentive to it. But there tends to be flexibility and adaptability with all these mutable signs. The other mutable signs outside of Sagittarius is Gemini, and I'm drawing a blank. It's Gemini and oh, how funny! I'm drawing a blank. It'll come to me later on. Um, Pisces. So it's Sagittarius for fire, Gemini for air, Virgo's the other one for earth, and then Pisces for water. Those are all the mutable signs for all the elements. So with Sagittarius, Sagittarius is a sign of positivity, optimistic. Not so much, I don't want to say positivity, but they're very open-minded to anything that's coming. There is not such a thing as no possibility with Sagittarius. And the world's their oyster, and they like to just go out and just challenge themselves, put themselves in situations. That's the adventurous, that's the explorative side of Sagittarius. They like that space, no restrictions whatsoever with Sagittarius. They're ruled by the planet of Jupiter. Jupiter is a fire sign. It is of expansion. It is of movement, but it is of movement that is of abundance and bringing things to you that benefits you and that makes you stronger. And then in turn, that shows that comes inwardly, but it also goes out externally. So whatever energy Sagittarius takes in, it plays a role on them. It makes them more empowered. It puts them in a perspective where also they can learn a little bit about themselves. And that's the other aspect of Sagittarius. Sagittarius is higher learning, um, philosophical approach towards things. So that's why they need to travel. They need to have that sense of um, having a change in a environment at quite often for them, because they do get bored. If there's nothing going on, they need to find something to keep them busy. But with this new moon in Sagittarius, I'll show you this card here from the Heavenly Bodies deck. And so they are the archer. So the archer is actually interesting because you see that symbol of the bow and the arrow. But basically, you're directing it. You may not see a target because Sagittarius doesn't look at what's in front of them right now. It's what's beyond them. So they just take that bow and arrow and they shoot it and let that energy guide them to where their next adventure will be. But with the new moon and also the solar eclipse amplifies the energy that's going on. We have the lunar eclipse, which basically is the opposing energy of the solar eclipse. So with the lunar eclipse, we tend to feel that energy to be a little bit more connected to the moon, and that when it's an eclipse of the moon, we have to take time. We have to basically stop and just really don't push ourselves forward. It's a time of reflection. Okay. Now with the solar eclipses take place during the new moon, and lunar eclipses take place during the full moon. So we have we have these opposing energies. We have the new moon right now in Sagittarius, where it's supposed to be a time of, not doing too much, being more reflective, but also planning ahead. But that solar eclipse comes in and just kind of shakes things up a little bit. And that's a little bit more agitating for Sagittarius because they are a fire sign. They're the new moon, we have no light, but we're feeling something from an outside source of power and energy that's compelling Sagittarius in particular and some of the other fire signs to do something, to go ahead and move. So it's that amplification of that energy um, that's beckoning to Sagittarius at this time to go and do things. So I feel when it comes to opposing energy like this, a new moon in a fire sign as Sagittarius, it's a bit of a give and take, and I feel my words for Sagittarius during this time is, even though you may feel like you need to go and do something, you need to go into a different environment. Do so, but don't put yourself in an environment that could be a bit too overwhelming, because that's one of the things that happens with Sagittarius, that if they put themselves into something that it is overwhelming, it can throw things into an imbalance. And so, like I said, we have opposing energies going on right now. So I think it's good during this time of the solar eclipse um, to just be mindful of your actions. Don't go too much ahead. You know, move forward, but don't jump right into it. Okay, be kind to yourself. During a new moon, whether there's a solar eclipse or not, it is a time of the energy slowing down, but also being mindful of your actions that you do at this time, what you have planned to do, because anything that you do now, anything that you're planning, will affect between now and the full moon. So after we come from this new moon, this dark moon, we start waxing. We don't feel the energy for probably about 2.5 days after the new moon, when we start getting into the crescent phase, that little tiny sliver of light that we see as the moon's starting to gain light, to gain more energy, but more emotionally, more how we're feeling. So that's why I feel with this solar eclipse, as exciting as invigorating it could be for many people, it can also be a little bit too much. So with Sagittarius, lean more on this here where we have recharge. Okay, it's sort of like having your foot on the brake, but you're also accelerating at the same time. And so as that energy is starting to build up as we get waxing, ease up on the brake a little bit. Okay, and then you just start moving forward. Go on with your plans, but just don't jump too much into it at this moment. Go with the energy of the moon as it's starting to wax. Okay, we don't go from the new moon to the full moon in 2.5 days. We have these steps. And then we're going to be going into Capricorn during the waxing stages. And then we're going to go into Aquarius. So move with those energies as the moon starts gaining light. Keep in mind the energies of those signs that the moon is in, whether it's waxing or waning, and align yourself with those characteristics of those signs. Like Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, so that's an earth sign, Capricorn, and Saturn is earth ruled, but it's also very disciplined. It's very focused on time frames, traditional values. So it's going to be a different kind of energy from Sagittarius. We take this adventurous soul of Sagittarius, where they want to just learn as much as they can. And then we're going to turn that energy around This is talking about the moon. And also, as we get ready to go into the sun in Capricorn in a few more weeks, we're going to ground that energy and really take insight as to what we've gained from this time of the sun sign in Sagittarius and going into Capricorn, and also from Sagittarius, our moon sign, going into Capricorn. And I think it's going to be this Sunday or Monday, we start moving into that energy. So the card that is aligned, the major arcana card that is aligned with Sagittarius, is what's needed during this time. This is a good reminder, is temperance. Okay, let's work with these energies. Let's work with this opposing energy of the solar eclipse. Let's put this into balance. Okay, it could be very activating, definitely for Sagittarius, and maybe even a little bit more for Leo and Aries, the other two fire signs. Let's try and create a balance of that force of fire, of movement, of creativity, of travel, and of creating progress. Let's just go in between that state of the solar eclipse and our new moon. Okay, let's honor the space that and the transition that's going on between the new moon and as it starts waxing. The solar eclipse is just going to be for a few moments, and it's going to be happening here in the West Coast, I think around 11:45 on yesterday, Friday, December 3rd. So for most of us here in the US, we're not going to really experience the solar eclipse. But for people who are sensitive and they do magic and they do solar energy work, they may feel this. And so they have to be very mindful of this transition of energy while it's in the sign of Sagittarius, and honoring and working with the influences that Sagittarius has. So again, we're trying to create this balance. All right. So we have that bow and arrow. Okay, it's being sent out. Remember, Sagittarius looks beyond the realm, not what we see it immediately. And that's what their goal is, what's out there. That's what they want to experience. But to get there, from that starting point of when they release that energy, is they have to take careful strides until they get to that, till they get to the end. But there's always more. And I think that's what's really important for Sagittarius, is that even though you may come to the end of an experience, there's always more to learn. Okay. So if, let's say right now, Sagittarius is coming to an end of a project or some studies or some personal shifts that they've realized, some personal studies that they're coming to an end with, you take that experience that you've gained and what you've learned, and you take it to the next step, take it to the next level. That's where the higher level of knowledge and understanding of the self comes into play. You get that excitement. It's like, wow, I learned so much during this time. I want to take it now to, how much higher can I go, in other words. But we do this in kindness to ourselves during this time, and creating that balance. Okay, so that's my thoughts during this time of the new moon in Sagittarius, solar eclipse. I have all the information, the times that it goes in on the West Coast and the East Coast, and let's honor this time. It's just going to be for 2.5 days that we're going to have this time in Sagittarius. So be kind to yourself. Okay. Challenge yourself, but don't push yourself too much. Okay. That's pretty much how I feel when it comes to any shifts, when it comes to the moon phases. Let's just ease into the transition um, from the new moon into its waxing phases in the next few days. Okay. And we find by looking at things from the outside and seeing where we can create harmony in our actions, um, and getting a better perspective that way, we can move forward. We can move forward in such a way that when Sagittarius is on their travels, they see things they see things wide, but they see things with a clearer perspective instead of just like, oh, wow, here, here, and here. So that's what's important with Sagittarius, is to see things in a clear view so that it is, they are taking in the information, they are taking in what's going on, and they're assessing it the best way that they can. And that's, again, understanding the whole process of how they're journeying through life. So take it one step at a time. Alrighty, so that's it. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone. I will be posting another video, hopefully by Monday. There's a few thoughts that I have that I feel that I need to put out and share with you for a video. And also, I'm going to do a post, and I like to get some feedback on those who are my subscribers or those who are just passing through. I like to start a tarot course, okay? And I've offered private consultations outside of reading, but if people like to learn about certain nuances of the tarot, I do offer private tutorials, but I feel like now I want to offer a course. And it's going to involve the astrological aspects of the tarot, which people know I'm always talking about. So I'm gonna put a post and see how people feel about that and what they would like to experience, what they would like to learn with the astrological influences with the tarot. Okay, so I appreciate your feedback on that. It'll probably be a poll post that I'll post on YouTube, and I'd love to get your feedback on that. Okay, so other than that, feel free to subscribe, leave comments, feedback. I'm not an astrologer, but I use my experience based from the tarot and what I've been reading with astrology, related specifically to the tarot. And that's where I take my background and my experience with astrology to merge it together with the tarot, because there are some interesting connections that I feel personally is very important to learn when you're working with the tarot. Okay, have a wonderful weekend, everyone. I will see you again next time. Have a wonderful night.